The iPhone 7 is finally here. It has been officially announced this Wednesday, the pre-orders have gone live this Friday, and the iPhone 7 is already out of stock until November in all countries for almost all models. And overall, the iPhone 7 is a really good smartphone. However, there are some things, some small details that you probably don't know about that you should definitely know about before buying an iPhone 7. So here's my in-depth list of not 7, not 10, not even 30, but actually 32 things you should definitely know before buying an iPhone 7. Enjoy. Okay, so number one, you probably know that the iPhone 7 Plus does come with that dual camera module. However, at least on paper, that dual camera module on the iPhone 7 Plus looks weaker in low light than the regular iPhone 7 model. So the 7 Plus comes with one wide-angle lens and a telephoto lens, and the wide-angle lens comes with an f1.8 aperture, and the telephoto lens comes with an f2.8 aperture. So that's a massive difference between the two lenses. But the aperture is not the only difference between those two models. There's also a pretty big difference when it comes to the actual sensor size. So on the iPhone 7, we have a sensor size of 1/2.6 inches. This is a pretty big improvement from the iPhone 6s, which had a sensor size of 1/3 inches. However, on the iPhone 7 Plus, we also have 1/3 inches, so the exact same sensor size as on the iPhone 6s. Now, the dual camera module that's on the iPhone 7 Plus, that one is developed by Lynx Technology, and they actually have a patent. I actually talked about this in my previous videos. They have a patent on how to reduce image noise by using those two lenses at the same time. Now, at the Apple event, Apple hasn't said anything about having this included in the iPhone 7 Plus, so most likely that the iPhone 7 is slightly better in low light than the iPhone 7 Plus. I'll be testing this in depth next week when I get my hands on the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 7 Plus, so feel free to subscribe if you're new to the channel and if you want to see that. Number two, the price. The iPhone 7 is actually more expensive in Europe, and in the UK, it's quite a bit more expensive. So a 32GB iPhone 7 is now £600. Previously, the entry model was £540, and the 128GB iPhone 7 is £700, and this is up from $620. And in terms of the iPhone 7 Plus, it's $720 instead of $620. So that's a massive £100 price increase. It's not just the iPhones, by the way. Almost all Apple products are more expensive in the UK now. In case you're wondering why, well, this is a direct effect of Brexit. Unfortunately, Apple had to adjust all the prices. Yeah, sucks. Number three, you probably know that the iPhone 7 doesn't come with a headphone jack at all. However, the not so bad news is that in the box, you'll be getting both Lightning headphones and an adapter as well. So you'd be able to use any headphones you want with an adapter. Obviously, you still have to have it with you at all times, which kind of sucks. And yeah, you won't be able to charge your iPhone while listening to music. That kind of sucks as well, but it's pretty good to know that both an adapter and Lightning headphones are included with every iPhone 7 and iPhone 7 Plus. Number four, in case you don't know, the front-facing camera actually got a pretty big update as well. So now it's a 7-megapixel sensor up from 5 megapixels, so all of those selfies will be much sharper. I personally wasn't expecting a 7-megapixel sensor, I was expecting an 8-megapixel sensor, but yeah, in terms of the resolution, the iPhone finally tops the Samsung Galaxy S7 and the S7 Edge and the Note 7 on the front-facing camera. Finally. The video recording quality has also been bumped from 720p to finally 1080p. Now, in case you don't know, this is still unfortunately behind the S7 and the Note 7, which can shoot up to 1440p or Quad HD. Now, Apple could release a software update and bump the resolution, although since they haven't said anything at launch day, I don't see this happening. Number five, also in terms of that front-facing camera, well, as I said before, it did get quite a few improvements. However, the aperture wasn't improved at all. So it's still an f2.2 aperture like we had with the iPhone 6s. So it's not actually the best camera in low light, unfortunately. Just to give you an idea, this is f2.2 on the iPhone 6s versus f1.7 on the S7. Pretty big difference when it comes to low light on the front-facing camera. Number six, you probably know that we now have two new really awesome colors on the iPhone 7. So we have a matte black, which is now called black, and we also have a glossy black, which is called jet black. Let me know in the comments, by the way, which one is your favorite one. My favorite one at launch day was actually the jet black one, but now I'm starting to like the matte black one more, especially because the jet black is it's basically a fingerprint magnet. So you'll have to clean it all the time. And yeah, the interesting fact here is that Apple actually states on their website that this thing scratches like crazy. And they actually suggest you to wear a case. So yeah, for me personally, I'm picking the matte black. Let me know in the comments which color option are you picking. Now, in case you're thinking of getting that jet black color option, well, unfortunately, it's only exclusive to the iPhone 7, the 128 and the 256GB options. So yeah, if you really want that color option, you'll have to pay more as well and get more storage in the meantime. Number 7, the iPhone 7 is now water resistant. Now in terms of the ingress protection level, I previously believed this to be IP68 or IPX7, and apparently it's neither of these. It's actually IP67 now, so that's better than on the first generation Apple Watch. 6 means that it's full dust resistant, and 7 means submersion up to 1 meter of water up to 30 minutes. Now Apple doesn't actually promote any submersion with the iPhone 7, so according to Apple, this is only splash proof, so not even taking a shower with it would be okay, because shower, well, has pressure, so the water can actually get inside your iPhone. Another interesting thing to know is that unfortunately there's no nano coating on the motherboard at all, so if any water gets inside the iPhone, well, chances are your iPhone will be pretty much dead. Also, number 8, water damage is not actually covered at all by the warranty. So if for some reason your iPhone breaks while you have submerged it in water, well, Apple will not give you a new phone. So yeah, this is something you have to be really careful about. In terms of the display, it's still the same resolution as before, so it's still a 1080p display on the iPhone 7 Plus and a 1334 by 750 resolution display on the iPhone 7, so resolution hasn't changed at all. However, we now have a Dci P3 display on the iPhone 7, so this is the same as on the 5K Retina iMac and on the new iPad Pros. This means that we now get much better color accuracy, much better color gamut, and also deeper black, so overall the display, in terms of the colors, it's much better than before. However, something that not a lot of people know about is in terms of the contrast. So in terms of the contrast, the iPhone 7 Plus actually has a lower contrast ratio than the iPhone 7. So the iPhone 7 Plus has a contrast ratio of 1300 to 1 versus 1400 to 1 that we have on the iPhone 7. So yeah, same Dci P3 display on both iPhones. However, the 7 Plus has a slightly higher resolution display, whereas the iPhone 7 has a slightly higher contrast. Next up, unfortunately, we don't have wireless charging on either of the iPhone 7 models. Now for me personally, this is not that big of a deal because wireless charging at the moment is pretty bad. You need to buy a separate charging pad, and then you need to plug that in, obviously, and then you need to place your phone onto that charging pad. So in the end, the only advantage that you have over charging it via cable is that it basically takes you 2 to 3 seconds less to put your iPhone onto a charging pad rather than just plugging a cable in it. But yeah, it also takes much longer via wireless charging, and then you also need to buy that thing, so it's more expensive. Overall, at the moment, it's not worth it, and in case you are a true fan of wireless charging, well, the iPhone 7 and the 7 Plus are not for you. Next up, the battery life has actually been really improved on the iPhone 7 and the 7 Plus. So with the iPhone 7, Apple says that we're expecting to get 2 hours of extra battery life than on the iPhone 6s. And with the iPhone 7 Plus, we're getting about 1 extra hour of battery life. And yeah, this is pretty awesome. Now, if you take a look at Apple's battery numbers, the difference between the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 7 Plus is not that huge anymore. So if you've always preferred the battery life of the iPhone Plus models, but you've always preferred the small form factor of the iPhone, well, the regular iPhone model, now you will get much better battery life on a 4.7-inch model of the iPhone 7. Then with the iPhone 7, we also have some new accessories. We have some brand new silicone cases and brand new leather cases, and also really awesome black, completely black looking dock. And the leather cases now come with actual integrated buttons inside a case. These buttons are now made out of metal, and they match the color of the case, and I think they look really premium. But yeah, what you need to know next is that the cases actually are way more expensive than before. So at least in the UK, the leather cases, for example, they're now priced at £45, up from £35, and the smart battery case is now £100, up from 80. So even 80 was a really high price for the smart battery case. So now getting a Mophie instead seems like a much better idea. And by the way, this video is not sponsored by Mophie, but yeah, now you have even less reasons to get an Apple smart battery case. Next up, the iPhone 7 Plus comes with a dual camera module, and that dual camera module actually has a pretty cool feature. It's a software feature that uses those two lenses at the same time, and it gives you this really nice bokeh effect. And those photos look indeed really awesome. However, this won't be available at launch date. So Apple has said that they will be launching this in a future update, which hopefully comes by the end of the year. So yeah, no background blur or bokeh effect on the iPhone 7 Plus at launch. Number 16, in case you're not that really into the iPhone 7, well, you can now pick an iPhone 6s, it's $100 cheaper now, and the capacity has also been bumped. So the iPhone 6s now comes in both 32 and 128GB capacities. The iPhone SE, however, still comes in 16 and 64, so no changes there. Next up, the iPhone 7 finally has stereo speakers now. Now on the bottom of the iPhone, we have two separate speaker grills, however, we don't actually have two speakers there. The one on the right is still the speaker, and the one on the left is now an amplifier instead. So because of this, the sound coming from the main speaker is much louder now, and also the dynamic range has been improved as well. And now the one on the top, the earpiece, is now a speaker. Now this one is supposedly not as loud as the main speaker, however, it's good to know that we have two speakers on the opposite sides of the phone. I'm really curious to see how the sound quality will actually be, but overall the speakers have greatly been improved. Awesome. Next up, remember when I said that the headphone jack is nowhere to be found? However, we do get an adapter inside the box. Well, in case you lose that adapter, you can actually purchase one from Apple, and it's actually much cheaper than expected. So it's only $9, so you could actually buy a pack of these. Now on Wednesday, I actually did a recap of the Apple event. In case you missed it, it's linked here. But the main highlights of the Apple event were the iPhone 7s, the Apple Watch 2, and also those new AirPod headphones. So those AirPod headphones are pretty interesting. So they're completely wireless, and you can also use Siri with them. They also have a touch sensor and accelerometer, so yeah, they're pretty smart. Unfortunately, they don't come bundled with any iPhone 7, so you'll have to buy them separately, and no, they're not cheap, they're pretty expensive, and they'll only be available next month in October. A really interesting thing about them is in terms of the battery life and how you charge them. So the battery life lasts for 5 hours, that's with 50% of the volume, so it's pretty decent. It's not great, it's not bad, it's pretty decent. But then you have this charging case, and to charge your headphones, you simply put the headphones inside a case, and then the case has an integrated battery as well, and they can give you up to 24 hours of battery life on the headphones. And in case you're wondering, just a 15-minute charge will actually give you 3 hours of playback on the headphones, so that's pretty good actually. But yeah, don't forget that you do need to charge the case after the battery life of the case runs out, obviously. 21, we have the performance. So the iPhone 7s are way more powerful than I initially expected. They're simply insane. Now, interesting enough, the Apple A10 chip is still based on a 16nm process, not 10nm like I believed before. In my Final Leaks and Rumors series, I said that this was going to be a 10nm process, not a 16 one, and apparently it's still a 16 one, but regardless, the performance improvements are just insane. So these are the Geekbench scores, and yeah, it's even more powerful than I expected. It's much more powerful than even the Apple A9X CPU inside the 12.9 inches iPad Pro. And yes, those single core scores are even higher than the last generation 13-inch MacBook Pro, and all this inside a phone. That's incredible. Now, speaking of the performance, the next thing that you should know is that in terms of the RAM, on the iPhone 7 we have 2GB of RAM, and on the iPhone 7 Plus we have 3GB of RAM. Now, this is not that big of a deal. iOS is really well optimized when it comes to RAM management, so in day-to-day use you won't be able to tell the difference. However, if you care about iOS fluidity and the future updates, then you should probably go for the iPhone 7 Plus instead. 23, the home button is not clickable anymore, so the home button has now been replaced by a Force Touch home button, just like we have in the 12-inch MacBook and the new MacBook Pros, and also the Apple Watch. So we now have a new Taptic engine underneath that home button, so when you press it, the Taptic engine beneath it vibrates, and it gives you the impression that you actually click the home button. However, all of the features of the home button are still here. So multitasking, reachability, triple click to access accessibility options, Siri, everything is still here. However, one interesting thing is Dfu Mode. So I'm not exactly sure how we would be able to access Dfu Mode now, since, well, the home button is not clickable anymore. I believe now this would be replaced by the volume down button and the home button. This, or maybe they'll change how Dfu Mode works on the iPhone 7. Maybe you'll have to turn the phone on, press the power button, and then keep pressing the power button and the home button, because that way it would work once the phone has been powered on. 24, the iPhone trading program is now here in the UK. So basically, if you pay a certain fee, you can get the iPhone 7 really cheap, and then next year you can get the next iPhone by trading your old iPhone 7 in. So by doing this, you would pay about 300 to 400 pounds per year rather than 600 or 700. However, you won't be keeping your phone. So overall, it's still best to just buy a new phone and then sell it, because you sell it, you don't lose it. Number 25, in case you're wondering how you can charge and listen to audio on your iPhone at the same time, well, this is actually possible by an accessory that Apple is selling. That's this dock. So this is the dock that Apple is selling for the iPhones. This one has a lightning connection, so that's how you charge your iPhone, and then on the back you also have a 3.5mm headphone jack port. So if, for example, you want to connect your iPhone to your home stereo and you want to listen to music for a really long time, so you need your iPhone plugged in, then this is the best and currently the only way to do this. 26, the display on the iPhone 7s is also much brighter than on the iPhone 6s. So it's now much more visible outdoors, which is great. The iPhone's display was already pretty visible outdoors, but increasing the brightness makes it even better, and I'm pretty cool with that. The iPhone 7 and the iPhone 6s, they have the exact same height, width, and thickness. However, the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 7 Plus, they're actually lighter than the iPhone 6s. So the iPhone 7 now weighs 137 grams versus 143, and then the iPhone 7 Plus weighs 188 grams versus 192 that we had on the iPhone 6s Plus. So not a big difference, but yeah, the iPhones are now much lighter than before, and this is really interesting, especially because on both models we now have a larger camera module, which obviously weighs more. 28, the iPhone 7 now supports finally Category 9 LTE, and that's just insane. So we also have this with the Samsung Galaxy S7, the S7 Edge, and the Note 7, and now we have it with the iPhone 7s as well. And Category 9 LTE supports speeds of up to 450 megabits per second. That's insane. Previously, the iPhone 6s had 300 megabits per second, so that's a pretty big improvement. And just by comparison, the iPhone SE has 150 megabits. So yeah, that's a huge difference between all of these models. So if you care about 4G LTE speeds, and also if your carrier supports it, then definitely get the iPhone 7 over the previous ones. 29, I've already talked about the battery life before, so 2 extra hours on the iPhone 7 versus the 6s, and 1 extra hour on the iPhone 7 Plus versus the iPhone 6s Plus. However, one interesting thing is, well, take a look at those numbers. When comparing the iPhone 7 and the 7 Plus versus the 6s and the 6s Plus, you can see that the talk time and also the audio playback time actually went down on both the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 7 Plus versus the 6s and the 6s Plus. Strange. Next up, number 30, there's actually a trick to get fast charging on the iPhone 7. So all you need is an iPad charger. So if you have an iPad or if you buy this separately, this is a 12 watt or 2.4 amp adapter. And by using this, the iPhone 7 Plus would actually charge from over 3 hours to just 1 hour and 40 minutes. So that's a pretty huge improvement. So yeah, definitely keep this one in mind. 31, in terms of that Force Touch home button, you can actually customize the pressure of the home button itself. We might also get some extra features in the future because Apple has actually patented the use of a Force Touch home button as a joystick in games. So that would be pretty cool to see, and yeah, this might actually happen in a future update. And finally, the last interesting thing that you should know about the iPhone 7, this is a pretty cool one. So with iOS 10, you can actually take raw images. Now this doesn't work with a camera app. However, the API, the raw capture API, has been open to the developers, which means that developers can implement this into their apps. So apps such as Instagram or Camera Plus and more, they will be able to take full raw images, and this is awesome, especially for photographers. And this was my list of 32, actually maybe even more than 32 really interesting things about the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 7 Plus. Let me know in the comments, by the way, if you guys are getting an iPhone 7, and if so, which is the main reason or reasons you decided to get an iPhone 7? Is it the battery life, the camera, the Force Touch home button, the 4 LED flash? I don't know, but you let me know in the comment section down below. Also feel free to subscribe to my channel for more iPhone 7 related videos, and if you have enjoyed this video, also feel free to give it a huge like. It took quite a while to make. And also feel free to follow me on Twitter at ZoneOfTech for more tech updates there as well. Don't forget to enable notifications on my channel on both desktop and mobile. On mobile by simply clicking on that bell icon next to my channel so that you're notified whenever I upload a brand new epic video. Speaking of things that are epic, let me know in the comments which one of you was epic enough to make it to the end of this video. But yeah, other than that, this was pretty much it for this video. I'm Daniel, and I'll see you guys in my next one. ZoneOfTech, signing out. Cheers.